Colin, what was your topic?
Wind.
What was
Yeah.
the topic in Colin?
Wind.
Wind, all right.
Like whoosh.
Wind, and since I have been reading Game of Thrones. Samuel had not realized the storm had come in. He had locked himself in the depths of the library, looking through the oldest books, trying to find the answers to the others. But everything he read only gave him more questions. Information was sparse, until quite by accident he'd found a stack of books behind another in a shelf created into the stone wall. There was a writing of the Maester of the 592nd Lord Commander, the last to have fought the others. The writing was hard to read, faded, and it seemed written in fear of the coming of winter and the others. But the Count followed with a conclusion of those who were left on the night watch at the end, and preparations needed should the others reappear. Preparations forgotten, or only half fulfilled in the centuries since. Skimming it again, Sam dashed on his coat and rushed to find John. No longer John, no longer just his best friend, now the Lord Commander. It seemed too quiet on his way through the winding staircase and stone hallways, but as he reached the surface, he heard a howling. At first, he thought perhaps ghosts. John's direwolf was just outside the door. Then he imagined ghosts had become the wind, and his howls rode on it. Upon opening the thick wooden door, he found he couldn't open it, almost as if someone was holding it shut. Sam pushed again, tucking the book within his furs. He pushed on a break in the wind, a small gasp before another howl, and the door flew open, and Sam heard the howl of the wind had taken over all. No sound from fires crackling, a flag snapping, no sounds from the night watch pacing or command shouted. The wind took over all the senses and brought on a sixth sense of knowing, fear, that was beyond sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. Sam then knew from his readings what this wind was. It was not just a wind from the north that had been blowing for 9 years, stopped further south by the warm winds of summer. He knew it was now too late. Winter was no longer coming. Winter was here.
Okay, again this night, the hunters plan to end it, for if it keeps taking our children, we will end. I had protested, saying how the gods sent it to us as a punishment. But they didn't believe me. They said, "Clap, no one believes in your fairy tales." "It's immaterial," I retorted. They replied, "It's a stealthy thief whose blood will be spilt." Again this night, I must stop them. Hiding their swords didn't work. Neither did spilling oil on them. I had to think of another plan. I checked my watch. 5 more minutes. I recalled the way they would move. Left foot, right foot, silence. Then the wind would take them. If I stepped out now, no. This period is too fragile. No, 0 minutes. They backed up, left foot, right foot, then silence. Once again, the wind takes them to their grave. I'm done.
1.
1967. As the wind blew her face, messing up her burnt comb of hair, she surveyed the wreck that used to be her home. She wished she could have stayed to search for her parents, but they sacrificed all of their money to keep her safe. The island slowly drifted away, turning into the big expanse of ocean. The smell of salty air, the breeze moving her boat across the water, the smell of burnt wood, and the screaming of thousands of people dying still ringed in the foggy air. 1989. She stands there once again at the foot of the Royal Guard. As she passed the wind turbines that gave light in every home, the strength of the wind, hopefully it wouldn't ruin the remains of her parents. 15 days later, there, in the distance, the familiar shape of her island, her home. As she got closer, she jumped off and pulled her boat to safety. She saw dead bodies in the square of her town.
Wind. They never told me how it would happen. I suppose some things are just unspoken. The thrashings had come early this year, when it was wet. With every thrashing, hundreds, no thousands would be injured, maimed, and decapitated. Harmful as it was also an opportunity and hope. The sunlight would penetrate the canopy easier. Energy surged through our million-year-old DNAs as we radiated in the sun. Upward, higher, onward. Timing was everything. The moment needed to happen before the next thrashing or pillaging, blah, blah, blah. Until we grew. And then we waited. Waited for what? I could not fathom. But my seeds were full of waiting. They had to spread out as far as they could go, away from the thrashings, possibly go farther. And then it happened. The curse had always defied our growth, a ripple across my leaves, but it grabbed a strand and yanked it gently away into the wind. O sweet child, go forth and prosper. Then the next handful of seeds sailed away. As the wind slowly carried away my seeds, I began to relax. My job was over for now. I would retreat or recover, hopefully, from the next round of thrashings, ready to grow and deliver forth my spawn.